Hey everyone, I'm Taylor from Kinpatsu Cosplay. In this video, we're going to show you guys how to make these amazing claws for KDA Evelynn using EVA foam. This example is specifically for Evelynn, but these claws can be used for all kinds of different costumes. If you'd like to make your own full KDA Evelynn costume, we have a tutorial and pattern set available on our website at kinpatsukosplay.com. But right now we're here for claws, so without further ado, let's get to the video. We have a pattern for these claws available at kinpatsukosplay.com for you to use. But if you want to draft your own custom pattern, here's how we did it. We created a 3D model and printed this on our Elegoo Mars 3 resin printer. If you don't have a 3D printer, you can also sculpt the claws first with clay or just make a paper mock-up. To create a pattern from the sculpture or 3D print, tear off pieces of tape and lay them onto the claw. You can then draw on the lines for your seams with a pen. Use a craft knife to cut along the lines and remove the pieces of tape. Then you can lay them onto a piece of paper. You can scan these into your computer and then make a digital version in a program like Affinity Designer or Adobe Illustrator. Then you can print out the final claw pattern and cut out the pieces. To make these claws, you will need 2mm high-density foam. Trace around the claw patterns onto the foam sheet. If you're using black foam, it helps to use a white pen to do this so that you can see your lines. The high-density foam is harder than normal foam, so it's good for making claws like this as it won't bend quite as much. Use a craft knife or scissors to cut out the pieces for the claw. For the detail at the top of the finger, you will need to carefully cut a V-shaped channel. Start by cutting at a 45-degree angle in one direction along the line. Then cut at a 45-degree angle in the other direction. Be careful not to cut all the way through the foam. You can then pull out the strip of foam that's left. Repeat this for the rest of the claws. Use a heat gun to heat up the foam shapes. Then bend them so they are rounded. This will make gluing the tips of the claw together easier. Do the same for the other pieces of the finger, heating them up and bending them into shape. To connect the claws later, you will need to use a belt punch to make holes for the fasteners to go through. As you can see, this step was clearly very difficult. Now you're ready to start gluing the pieces together. For this, I recommend using contact adhesive. Apply the glue to both edges you will be joining, then let the glue dry and get tacky. Once the glue is tacky, line up the pieces and press the edges together to join them. It is pretty difficult to get a perfect join on these kinds of pointed pieces. If the seam doesn't close completely, don't worry, you can fix this later. The very tip of the claw might look a bit strange and messy. To fix this, use scissors to trim the end into a neat point. Then you can heat up the point with a heat gun and press the ends to smooth them out. Once everything is built and shaped, it's time to prep for paint. To fill in the rough seams on the fingers, you can use gesso or Flexi Filler. Flexi Filler was sponsored to us by Red Moon Cosplay, and it is a flexible paste that is great to fill in seams. Apply the filler onto the seam of the claws. Then use water and your finger to smooth it out as much as you can. Let the filler dry completely. Then you can lightly wet sand over it using 600 grit sandpaper to remove any small imperfections or pooling that happened when drying. To remove the rest of the foam texture, you can use a paint-on primer like FlexBond or HexFlex. We used HexFlex because it gives a nice smooth finish. Apply the HexFlex all over the surface of the foam, then let it dry. I used 2 layers to hide most of the texture of the foam. For an even smoother finish, you can also use a spray primer. We used Rust-Oleum Filler Primer. This is not a flexible primer, but it doesn't crack too badly and it's good for things that don't need to be super flexible like these claws. Spray on 2 coats of the filler primer onto the claw pieces. Let it dry completely, then you can sand over it with 600 grit sandpaper to get them extra smooth. Once the fingers are primed, you can start painting. Start by spraying everything with a black base coat. I used Rust-Oleum Gloss Black spray paint for this. Once the first coat is dry, you can then spray on your silver layer. For these fingers, I used the Shadow Chrome spray paint from Custom Paints Inc. to get a shiny metal finish. Evelynn's middle claw is purple, so for this I sprayed on a layer of Purple Lust spray paint from Custom Paints Inc. When the spray paint is fully cured, you can then apply a layer of gloss. I like to use the DecoArt Triple Thick Gloss Glaze. This is a super shiny gloss that is also pretty flexible and will help prevent your paint from cracking. To finish up the paint, you can add some shadows using black oil paint. Paint into the crease of the finger and use a larger soft brush to blend out a gradient around it. Once the fingers are painted and dry, you can then put them together. To join the pieces, you can use small paper brads that open up at the end. You can also use small rivets. Take the paper brads and put them through the hole. Then bend over the edges to secure them. Now your fingers are almost complete. These claws are really easy to put on and take off. And they articulate pretty well too. You can bend and move your fingers and the digits all move with the fasteners. The last detail to finish the claws is purple rhinestones for the middle finger. For this, you can get adhesive rhinestones on Amazon. Check the description for links. The self-adhesive gems are quick and easy to apply. Just peel them off and stick them onto the finger. Work in rows, starting from the center and moving outwards until the top half of the finger is covered. When all the gems are applied, it will be shiny and fancy looking. Now the claws are done. And that's how we made the KDA Evelynn claws. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave us a comment. And if you'd like to see more content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll be back soon with another video. Until then, bye for now.